Here's a question that might make you uncomfortable. Have you ever prayed for something? Really prayed, like on your knees? Tears streaming, faith fully engaged, and nothing happened? The silence was so loud you could hear it. The sky stayed empty, the situation didn't change, and you walked away thinking, maybe God doesn't hear me, maybe I'm not faithful enough, maybe prayer doesn't actually work. Stay with me. Because what if I told you the problem isn't your faith? What if the real issue is something the church has almost never talked about openly? Today we're going to look at what the Bible actually says about the prayer God never answers, and why that might be the most freeing truth you've ever heard. Let's be honest, most of us were taught a version of prayer that sounds like this: pray hard enough, believe hard enough, and God will give you what you ask for. Mark 11:24, right? Whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. That sounds like a guarantee, and that's exactly how it gets taught in a lot of churches. Name it and claim it, blab it and grab it. Pray the prayer of faith and watch God move. But here's the thing nobody talks about. That verse is not a blank check. And if you read it that way, you're going to crash into a wall every single time God says no, or says nothing at all. Because here's what we don't want to admit. Some prayers God never answers the way we want him to, and that's not a flaw in the system. That's the system working exactly as designed. Read that slowly. Some prayers God never answers the way you want. Not because your faith is weak, not because you didn't pray hard enough, because God is not a vending machine, and prayer is not a transaction. Now let's go to Scripture, because this isn't my opinion. This is what the text actually says. There are 3 specific types of prayer. Number 1, the prayer that asks God to override his own character. James 4:3, you ask and do not receive because you ask wrongly, to spend it on your passions. That's not God being stingy, that's God being holy. He will not give you something that contradicts who he is. If your prayer would lead you into sin, into destruction, into something that harms you or someone else, God's silence is mercy, not rejection. Think about it. Would you give your child a knife just because they asked for it with tears? No. Your refusal isn't cruelty, it's protection. Number 2, the prayer that demands a timeline. God answers prayer, but he does not answer on your schedule. Isaiah 55:8-9. My thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. The distance between your timing and God's timing is the distance between your perspective and his. You see the moment, he sees the eternity, and here's where a lot of people lose faith. They pray for healing, and the person dies. They pray for a door to open, and it stays locked for years. They conclude, God didn't answer. But what if God answered with something you couldn't see yet? What if the answer was coming, but the pathway required patience you haven't developed? Which one of these hits you hardest right now? Drop a number below. 1, 2, or 3. Here it is. The prayer God never answers, the one that makes people the most uncomfortable. Number 3, the prayer that asks God to remove the very thing he sent to grow you. Read that slowly. Some of what you're praying to escape is exactly what God placed in your life to develop you. Paul says it in 2 Corinthians 12:8-9. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Paul prayed for removal. God answered with retention, but with grace. Paul didn't get what he asked for. He got something better. He got the presence and power of God in the middle of the thing he wanted gone. And here's the reframe that changes everything. God's silence is not absence. God's no is not abandonment. Sometimes God's answer is, I'm not removing this because this is the very instrument I'm using to shape you. Now let me be very clear. This is not prosperity gospel. We are not saying that suffering is always God's plan. What I'm saying is, Scripture reveals that some of the hardest moments in your life are not obstacles to your growth. They are the catalysts for it. If this is hitting different for you, subscribe to this channel. This is a community of people who take their faith seriously, and who aren't afraid to look at what Scripture actually says, even when it's uncomfortable. We're building something here, and I want you in it. And stay until the end, because I'm going to give you a practical framework. Now let's go deeper. Promise 1, God hears every prayer. 1 John 5:14. This is the confidence we have in approaching God, that if we ask anything according to his will, He hears us. Not if you pray loud enough, not if you have enough faith. If you ask according to His will, meaning aligned with who He is and what He's doing, He hears you. Every time. Promise 2, God will answer, but the answer may not match your request. Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him. The answer might be yes, it might be no, it might be not yet, or it might be, I have something better than what you're asking for, and you can't see it yet. Now let me give you something practical. Step 1. Pray with alignment, not just desire. Before you ask God for anything, ask yourself, is this aligned with who God is and what God is doing? Step 2. Pray with surrender, not demands. Jesus models this in Matthew 6:10. Your will be done, not my will be done. That's not a cop-out. That's the most powerful prayer you can pray. Step 3. Pray with persistence, not passivity. Luke 18:1. Jesus told His disciples a parable to show them that they should always pray and not give up. Persistence is not nagging God, it's faith. Step 4. Pray with expectation of transformation, not just transaction. When you pray, expect that God will change you, not just your circumstances. Prayer is part of that transformation. Every time you pray, you're placing yourself in His presence. So let me bring this all together. The prayer God never answers, that prayer is not a failure. Sometimes God's silence is the answer. And sometimes that answer is better than anything you could have requested. Trust the process. I'm grateful you're here. If this video hit different, share it with one person in your life who needs to hear this. Go watch How Jesus Read the Bible next. God bless you. See you in the next one.